Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered. Today, but before I even introduce this young man, this gentleman, I just want to remind everyone Real Estate Unfiltered is a true podcast. It's unscripted. Devon is on it. Did not pay him to come here. I asked him to be totally honest. And like I always say, this podcast is for everyone. If you're getting into real estate, if you're thinking about buying a house and investment, um, if you're a realtor or even a loan officer and you just want to get the real information and see what really happens behind the scenes from top producing agents, mortgage loan officers, we have everyone on this podcast, even first time homebuyers. And I want you guys to remember it is not where you start, but where you end. And I want you to enjoy the process because the journey makes you stronger. And the only way you get better is to learn through it. So, I brought one of my good friends, Devon. We met like a year and a half ago through another friend, a mutual friend, referred us to each other, and we just clicked. And ever since then, we've been sending each other clients, going back and forth with, oh, what can I buy this? What about this loan? What about this loan? Malcolm, do you know about this loan types? Like he sends me nothing but Instagram videos of different loan types. I'm like, Devon, no, that's bullshit. That's real. Yeah, I can do that one. And we just go back and forth. But the energy this young gentleman brings is phenomenal, and he's willing to work. A lot of times you meet agents who say they want to be millionaires, they want to own real estate, they want to invest, but they are afraid to put in the work ethic. And when you, as a client, if you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify, wherever, Apple, Stream Music, wherever, we want you to understand that the energy that your realtor has when he's meeting you or showing online, that might not be truly him. So what you have to do is interview these gentlemen, hear them at all times, different times of the hour. Do they pick up your calls? Are they responding to your texts? How much energy and effort are they willing to put into you? Because what I truly believe this. What makes a really good agent is someone who's willing to educate you. So when they're going on the time and then you go on their Instagram, or even if he coming on podcasts like this, where they're not asking for anything, they're not asking for your business, they're not forcing you for anything. They just want to inform you. Those are what makes really great agents. So, nonetheless, I have my great friend Devon on the line. Devon, please introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are. Let's dive into this podcast episode.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for inviting me on a podcast. My name is Devon. I'm a realtor here in New York City. I'm also licensed in Connecticut. I specialize in multifamily properties, but I've also sold and helped buyers purchase co-ops and condos here in the city. I got started probably 5 years ago. I've worked at a few brokerages throughout the city, and I'm pretty well versed in both markets in terms of specifically multifamilies in Connecticut and in Brooklyn. I have a few properties on the market right now, and I met Malcolm, like you mentioned, a year and a half ago, and he's been an amazing resource for information on loans. Somebody I can really rely on and call and have questions about it.
I appreciate that. Don't make me blush. So, what inspired you to become a real estate agent?
That's a good question. So I was working in the financial industry for years, and I worked at a lot of different places. Worked at investment banks, worked at the big four accounting firms, worked at all of those places. And that's what I wanted to do after college. I always wanted to work at a big hedge fund, and I did. I worked at Bridgewater in Connecticut, it's the largest hedge fund in the world. I was there for about a year, and working there made me realize the most important thing is not money, but having the free time to do what you want and live a life that you design, and it's not by default. So, being a real estate agent has given me like the freedom to set my own schedule, be my own boss, and also help change people's lives because helping somebody buy their first home, especially in a market like this, it's life changing. You're changing the trajectory of their entire life. So it's been
I
something
really
that
like that.
yeah, I've enjoyed the journey. You know.
Question: how was it switching? Because to go to financial and clocking a 9 to 5 to working for yourself, that's a big change, especially knowing, like, as a realtor, you set your own schedule. Like you said, you have to go get your own clients. Like, how was that switch?
It's a major switch because you know if you're just jumping into real estate as an agent and you're not joining a team or you don't have a mentor, which is what I did, it can be very structureless. You know, when you clock in at work, you have a specific time you got to be in at work. You have a certain task or things that you have to do. You have meetings lined up. And real estate is not like that. You have to design and structure your own day. So, real estate is very, very different in the sense that there is no boss. You're your own boss, and you have to hold yourself accountable to working every single day and putting 100% into every day.
Now, what in particular makes you pick real estate out of all the other industries that you could have went to? Because you said you did want time freedom, but you could have picked anything else. Why real estate?
Yeah. Well, I realized the benefits of real estate. I mean, I primarily got in as an investor. I saw real estate as a vehicle to attain wealth and also as a vehicle to live a certain way, to get tax benefits, to get passive income. So I was like, I'm going to learn everything I can about real estate because, real estate is one of the industries that have made a lot of people wealthy. And so, I think along, there's other things as well, the stock market, technology, on that, but
But
real
you're
estate
right.
is,
One of the they said in the statistics, most millionaires are created through real estate.
yeah, exactly.
And they
Yeah,
also invest in real estate, most millionaires. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
very accurate with that.
yeah.
Now, what do you think sets your service apart from another real estate agent and stuff like that?
That's a good question. So your success as a buyer or a seller in this market is very much influenced by the agent you choose to work with. An agent that is doing this full time is important. An agent that is accessible on the phone, you know, I've had clients call me 7, 8 p.m. at night, and I'm accessible or text me. Someone who is invested in your success and wanting, to help you and knowing why you're doing this. I had a client who said, I'm buying a property because this is for each of my children, because I want every one of my kids to have something, you know, that I want to pass on to them. And, that's a very, motivating factor. We know what their motivation behind this is. So I'm working with him personally, even though this is in Connecticut, it's a challenging market. We're going to get him a house so he can, for each of his, I think 5 or 7 kids, we're going to get them all homes, for,
Sheesh.
for him so he can pass that down. So, just having an agent that's invested in you is the most important thing, that's doing this full time, that's accessible, and is that has shown and demonstrated knowledge and expertise in what you're trying to get.
100%. You you made a very good point. One thing I want to say is the person who said he wanted to buy it for his other kids and stuff like that. How did that impact you? Like, what went through your head when you heard such a powerful statement?
Oh man, I was like, man, this is a great parent. Thinking about his kids, not only thinking about himself, but he's thinking about his legacy and what he's passing on to his kids. Because if he buys them this property in 10, 20 years pass by and the property doubles or triples, they've got something that gives them passive income. They've got something that they can sell and reinvest in something else. They've got tax benefits. So he's leaving behind a lot. That one house is a lot uh, of wealth that he's passing down to his kids.
How many houses has he bought so far, and how many has he used you for? Has it been a return client yet, or are you still helping with the first one?
Well, I just got this client about maybe a few weeks ago,
Okay.
and we're in the Connecticut market looking for a multifamily. And truth be told, the Connecticut market is very hot right now with multifamily. So one of the things I do that's different from other agents is that I have off market properties. So I do a lot of marketing directly to sellers, whether it be via phone, mailer, internet. So I get these leads that are not online that I can give to my clients that, you know, may be buying it with an
Wait.
FHA.
Hold on. You dropping gems because what you stated wasn't just helpful to home buyers, people who are looking to buy first home, maybe an investment home, but also to other realtors. You guys catch that? I don't know if you caught that. He said he knows the market is so saturated with so many people buying, so many. There's no inventory. So what he did is he took it a step further and said, you know what? I'm going to find people before they decide to list it, before they even decide to start selling it. I'm going to get those, have it exclusively, and I'm going to market it to my clients. So now you're not dealing with getting over asking. You're not going through having to bid with a bid war of 100 people, or even having 100 people just in the doing one of your showings. Like you're getting to see it on exclusive lead. That's phenomenal. That's a great idea for any realtor who wants to get that edge. And now it also helps you when you get a client because you're like, hey, I got properties that are off market. Like no other agent can show you these stuff. So it gives you that little stepping stool that puts them on a pedestal. Like, hey, this is how I'm helping my clients become even better. That was a really good secret. I'm thank you for sharing that on the podcast. Hopefully,
Absolutely,
an
man.
agent out there is listening and they'll take your advice and start marketing to not only to look for new buyers but find them sellers first.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So in this crazy market, we do have first time home buyers who listen to the podcast. What advice would you give them?
For a first time home buyer, um, I would say the most important thing is you're going to be going against other people. The type of loan you use, and Malcolm could probably speak to this more. If they can do a conventional and put a little bit more down, put 3 or 5% down, that would give them a heck of a lot of advantage because a lot of the sellers are concerned that it may not pass inspection because the home needs work. So they tend to, and sometimes the FHA has a bad reputation, but I have gotten sellers to accept FHA loans. We just tell them, that we will work something out with regards to the repairs. The buyer may have to fix those repairs. But I would say, first time home buyers, get with Mr. Marcelle, have him pre approve you so you know exactly what your purchasing power is and what you can afford. From there, then you can start searching for homes within your price range and be aggressive. First time you see something, immediately try to set like an appointment, talk to your realtor to see it in person and put an offer in as quickly as you can with very little contingencies.
That's okay. You said a couple things I want to talk about. First thing first, I hate that FHA has such a bad name because really, I think it's one of the best programs out there. I'm a firm believer in it. And yes, they do scrutinize the property just a little bit more. They want to make sure that there's no chip paint. But like the phone said, there's ways to work around it, and it's still a great loan product that's where you fit in. Now, if you have great credit and you can do 5%, then by all means go conventional. But if you can't, especially if you're looking at a multifamily, because after you get 2, 3, they start having different requirements for your down payment, while FHA stays the same all the way up to a 4. So that's another really big benefit. Then two, you mentioned the fact that get pre-approved first. I don't know how many times I scream this on my podcast or my YouTube, TikTok. Like I don't know why or who came up with the idea. Like, hey, if you want to see a house, just go online and ask to go see it. And then you go there and it's like you don't have anything. You don't even know if this is within your budget. And then when I actually do the pre-approval, you're like, holy smokes, I can't even afford that. That mortgage payment looks crazy. Like
Exactly.
I don't
Yep.
know who gave these people steps to skip it. Like, go see the house, go in it, and then decide. Okay, if you want it, let's try to get pre-approved. Because a lot of times you're seeing things outside your budget. You're seeing things that looks nice that you want, but it doesn't always mean your pockets can afford it. And sometimes even when you could afford it, you don't want to go that high because you're like, I got to pay that every month, and I still
Yeah.
have electric, I still have gas, I still have water, and I got to do maintenance on my house. That ain't gonna work. So
Yeah.
that's another good
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
Now,
The best way.
what do you
Mhm.
do when a client like comes to one of your listings and they're like, "Hey, yeah, I'm just thinking about it." Like, do you take them seriously when they say, "I want to put an offer," and they haven't got pre-approved? Like, how does it feel to you as an agent?
Yeah, so if somebody's coming to me in this market where we're getting tons of offers for properties, and they come, unapproved for a loan, and they have to, now go to a lender, they have to submit the paperwork, which is this is not a Malcolm Marcelle does this in like a few days. You know what I'm saying? But by the time you've done all that, those other offers may have gotten accepted. So you really want to be prepared when you're coming out and you're serious about getting a property as quickly as possible to just take the time to speak with Malcolm. He's really quick with the paperwork. He'll probably give you a loan approval in no time, and then you can go about putting offers. But going to see a house that and then you fall in love with it, you may not be able to get it because by the time you have gotten an approval, somebody else has, gotten their offer accepted.
It's too late. Now, what about on the other hand? Like, I know people do hit you up and be like, "Hey, I'm ready to start going seeing houses." Have you ever had a client? This is unfiltered, so I want the truth. Have you
Okay.
ever had a client Have you ever had a client and they're rushing you to show me houses? I want to see this. I want to see this, and yet they haven't taken the first steps to even get pre-approved. Like, what happens? Do you push them aside? Like, what does that mean to you? Do you feel like they don't value your time? I want your true opinion on how do you deal with clients like that, and how does it make you feel as a realtor?
Yeah. So if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to see a house," but they don't know their purchasing power, they don't even know if they can afford it. They haven't spoke to great lenders like Mr. Marcel, and my thoughts are like, okay, first thing you need to do, we can see the house, but the first thing after the house, after we see that, the first thing you need to do is speak to a lender, get pre-approved, because you're basically just wasting your own time. You know, um, so and if somebody's serious about it, they will immediately go and get pre-approved. You know, there's nothing wrong with going and seeing houses, but keep in mind, if it's something you really love, you can't fall in love with these houses that you're looking at if you're unapproved for a loan. In this market, because think about it. If you like this house, there's a whole bunch of other buyers who feel the same way, especially in this market. Everybody is looking for like the newly renovated, move-in ready property that's well staged. And, if you're falling in love with it, chances are a whole bunch of other people and somebody's coming in already approved or maybe even with cash. So,
So, first of all, very good because we didn't even mention that. If they're coming in with cash, that's a real problem because they don't need financing. They're like, hey, let me do my little inspection or appraise. Yeah, they don't do appraisals. Let me do my inspection, run title, make sure everything's good, and I can close within 2 weeks. That's a whole nother monster. So I definitely forgot to bring that up. How do you help your clients navigate the current real estate market?
hmm, that's a good question. So, people have to keep in mind inventory is at historic lows. We have less inventory on the market than we did before the pandemic. So, we still have quite a bit of buyers looking for properties, even though interest rates are high. So there's a lot of competition and for very few properties. So what I tell people is that you have to be patient. Got to be patient. You might even put in a few offers and not have them accepted, because people are going above asking price. But what I would say is be patient. Don't be afraid to put in offers, and just stick with it. The market is very challenging for everybody: buyers, realtors, lenders. You know, and we just have to you know keep be patient and have perseverance.
Now, I want you to tell me something. Tell me about one of the scariest moments in um, your real estate career. Was it when you first got started and you didn't really have that no direction, or was it dealing with a specific buyer?
The scariest part of real estate, probably
Wait,
being
I'm
a new
sorry,
agent.
before. Yeah, audio's breaking up a little bit. When you move, I don't know if it's your headphones, but it's picking up like all the all the sound. Like every time you move, I can hear the
Oh, I'm sorry.
echoing.
Okay. Um, so the scariest part for me in real estate, probably just starting. Everybody wants to get into real estate, and I think TV glamorizes it a little bit too much. You might be looking at million dollar listing, and oh, okay, all I have to do is walk into this $50 million house. The seller asks me how much it's worth, and point my nose up in the air and say, okay, I think it's worth 50 million, and they sign the contract, and then you get a buyer like a day later. Unfortunately, real estate is not that easy. You know, real estate is like starting real estate is like a marathon. You know, you meet people and you stay in contact with them, you build relationships with them, and when they are ready to sell, hopefully they do call you, and you list their property, but it's not instantaneous. Success in real estate for most is very hard. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes a lot of perseverance, it takes a lot of faith, a lot of discipline. You have to structure yourself, and it helps if you have accountability partners. I've had several accountability partners across the country. I had accountability partner in New Hampshire. I've had one in San Diego, California, and we hold each other accountable to doing what we need to do every single day to be successful in real estate. It's so that was the scariest at the beginning because I had no structure, I had no clientele, and I was just out there without a mentor, without a team. But I'm here 5 years later.
Oh wow. Now, question. You mentioned something that I just want to touch base on again. You said, correct me if I'm wrong. You said when you had an accountability partner, you made sure that they made sure that you did what you needed to do every single day. So to be successful in real estate, what are people, or what do you suggest that people should be doing every single day?
Well, there's a few things. First thing, and I'm not going to go straight into like, oh, you need to do mailers, you need to do calling. First thing is you got to work on your mindset, because this is a business that there's no instant gratification on it. So you have to work on mindset. You have to wake up, and I used to do this a lot. I used to wake up and write 5 things that I'm grateful for, just for gratitude, right? I also do meditation. You have to clear your mind sometimes.
You like
And
this? Are you like this? Or you go like this?
no, no, not like that.
You listen to some Zen music and be like,
But you can definitely you can do the Zen music.
How long do you
But
meditate for?
a good 30 minutes. Yeah,
Wait, no phone, quiet, just
yeah. In
holy.
the
I
morning.
commend you. I was trying to do my daily meditation. I'm talking about I was getting 5 minutes in and I was getting ready to fall asleep. Like I really tried to meditate, but I think I usually do like if I meditate, 5 minutes is the max because anything more than that, I
Mhm.
start,
Well, you got to build on it. You got to build on
yeah.
it. But
You got to
over
give me some
time,
tips.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So work
But
on
I
your
mean,
mindset. You start meditating. What else?
mindset, meditating. I do some stretching. I do yoga.
You do yoga
I
too?
mhm.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this is unscripted, I've been talking to Devon for a year and a half. We talk at least 4 times out the week. At least 4 times out the week. I never knew this man did yoga.
Oh yeah, big time, man. It all starts with your mindset and your body, and then you got to work on the real estate part. Then you work on how am I going to get clients? Is it going to be online leads from Zillow or Google or Facebook, or if it's going to be cold calling, or if it's going to be door knocking, if it's going to be mailers, and all those things are catered to this specific person. So what I do to get business may not work well for you. If I
Mm.
knock on people's doors,
Repeat that again. That's what I'm talking about. This is the gems that I was trying to get out from you. That's what I'm talking about. Say that again.
what one realtor does may not be good for you, may not be a good fit for your personality. If I knock on doors to get business, that may not work for you. You may be somebody who prefers internet marketing. The most important thing to
Exactly.
realize, because we get a ton of questions from other agents on what we do to get business. I get a ton of questions. most important thing is everything works if you do it long enough. If you call long enough, if you send out enough postcards, if you do enough internet marketing, all of it works. The problem is people aren't sticking to it long enough, and they're
Mm.
not consistent, not disciplined in it.
I've noticed that with even with my own marketing, I realize that if you're consistent enough with anything, it can be successful. It's just a, can you be consistent enough, and then two, do you have the time or money to keep it going long enough to see those
Exactly.
returns? That's what you
Yeah. So
really figure out.
that's another component. Marketing may take a lot of money, and it may take longer so you to see the fruits of your labor. So that might be something you do when you're more established in real estate. You might start doing the podcast, the videos, and all these other things. Early on, you may be doing internet leads because they're more affordable.
Hmm.
So, you have to come up with a strategy for yourself that works for your personality, your finances, your time.
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, doing these videos, doing the podcast, it's extremely one, it's costly because all these videos have to get edited. Then you might have a YouTube manager. Like it gets very time consuming. Then you need someone to post a video. It's super. And you do not see instant gratification with the videos, with the viewership. I'm telling you guys, if you think I'm doing this because I see something, I do not. I just know in the long run that constantly producing content will make me stand out and become better. So he's 100% correct on this. This is really unfiltered because we did not plan this. And we just see when I talk about when you work with like minded people, you guys have similar mindsets, and this is what goes to show you. So, you just blew me away with that. You made me forget what I was about to ask you. I had a question for you, and those
Well, let me
answers
ask
were
you a
really great.
question.
Pardon me?
What made you become? Let me ask you a question. What made you become a loan officer?
Realistically, I did it for two reasons. When I was buying my house, I was doing wholesaling. This is if anyone's listened to the podcast, I usually do this in my seminar. I do like a webinar. I used to do that once a month, but I started falling back. So this is my story in my webinar. So I'll just give you a small brief because I don't want to spoil it for people who are gonna go and come to my home buyer webinar. But I was already in real estate. I was wholesaling houses and it was time for me to get a house. As you guys know, I am a police officer, so I was already a police officer. I think I was 2 years in on the job about that time, and I was wholesaling houses, so I had money in the bank, and I already knew about buying houses and stuff like that because I was wholesaling, so I understood most of it. But when it was come time to get a mortgage, the verbiage, understanding it, it was a whole nother animal, and I was like, if I'm this confused and I've already wholesaled houses. Like I've wholesaled houses and made $5,000, $10,000. I was getting into flipping at that time. I think I did my first flip around right around that time, and I was so confused on mortgages. I was like, if I'm struggling with this, and I'm in some kind of real estate field, can you imagine people who know nothing about real estate, what they're going through and the struggles they're going through? And after going through that, I was like, yeah, I spoke to someone who was my first mentor who actually helped me get it, and he was like, "Malcolm, you're a great person. I love your energy. I want you to be in my office." He was recruiting me for a while, and I finally gave in. It was like, yeah. After I closed, it was like I think 6 months to a year after. I was like, you know what? Let me just do it because I was enjoying it. I love real
Wow.
estate and I got in and I was like, yeah, this is a lot. I went through had to spend a lot of money going through the courses because when we get certified, it's for all 50 states. So it's a
Wow.
federal state. It's a federal. I've seen your course, but the mortgage one since '08, it became like a whole nother animal. So it's a lot stringent, more rules like no phones. They make you walk the water, metal detectors. There's like, it's a dark room with like, I'm talking about cameras all around to make sure if you're cheating. They have like
Wow.
8 different monitors who walk around. There's people staring at the screens. It's like you would have thought I was taking a test
It's
to
like
become
a
a
prison.
CIA. Yeah, exactly what it felt like. It's a dark room. They check you. You can't go in with anything. No pens, nothing. You can't go anything. Every computer is playing different courses because it's all online. So everyone's taking different tests, and there's people watching, making sure you're not looking. The cameras are watching. They zoom in to make sure you're not cheating. Like it's very serious now. After that '08 crash, when the feds took it over and was like, no, we're making sure it's different, and I finally passed. And even before that, I took a practice course because if you just study the school book, you're confused because the school book and then what you need to know for the test is so much information. So I took a
Yeah.
study course. That was a couple thousand just to get the course for the study
Wow.
material. On
Hmm.
top of paying for the school, on top of paying for the license, and then after you do that, you got to do FBI fingerprints. They run your credit. They run everything. And I was
Wow.
already a cop at this time. I was like, yo, my fingerprints are already in the system. Why am I paying for all this stuff? But you still got to pay for it. And
Time to
then
look it up.
and it was like everything I learned was nothing about being a mortgage loan officer. It was like, yeah, that's the book stuff, but that's not going to get you sales. So you need to learn how to be a people person. You got to learn how to do sales all over again. This is stuff I knew. It was just switching it more for mortgages. So
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
and I love it. It took me 6 months to get my first deal done. Six
Hmm.
months before I got a client. My client was a referral from my broker at the time, my mortgage broker. He gave me a referral of someone, and obviously I had to build that relationship. It wasn't just like, "Hey, call her; she's ready to get pre-approved." No, it was like, "This might be a lead. Work it." And I called
Yeah.
her, started working with her. She had a whole bunch of issues. Her name was Alvera. My first client still calls me to today. She's actually
Wow.
looking to buy another house. Yeah, um, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I fell in love ever since. And then I just kept growing and trying to build it. And who knows, maybe by next year I'll have my own team. We'll see.
Wow. Yeah, that's a dope story.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see sellers and buyers make?
Okay. Some of the most common mistakes. I'll start with sellers because I do a lot of listings, more than buyers. So some of the
He's a show off.
mistakes.
He reminds me of that all the time. He's like, I'd be like, hey, Devon, I got a new client for you. He's like, Malcolm, I don't really do buyers. I like doing what this
Well, it depends. Brooklyn buyers send them over. Connecticut buyers send them over, man. But
We'll
yeah,
just give you a hard time.
mostly listings, for the most part. You have some agents that only do buyers, some
That is
agents that
true.
only do listings, but I do both, do listings and buyers. Um, so for seller side, one of the most important things is to make sure you prepare your house. So let's say let's go with a multifamily, right? You're selling a multifamily and it's a four family. You want to make sure one of the units are vacant before you put this on the market. And one of the reasons are because some of the, as Malcolm knows, loans require one of the units to be vacant for a person to move in. If you're using an FHA loan, you have to have one of those units vacant. So by having all of them occupied and none of them vacant, you're taking about, I would say, 20% of those buyers out of the marketplace because the loan won't meet the requirements. The property won't meet the loan requirements. So you want to make sure your property has one vacancy. I'd say if it's a single family house, do a staging consultation. So I have a few companies, few vendors that will do a virtual consultation. So I'll come to the house, I'll go on FaceTime or Zoom, and we'll walk through your house, and they'll give you feedback on improvements you can make. It can be a full staging where they take furniture and everything, or it can be something that's less expensive, and it's called like an accessory staging, where they would just give you advice on what accessories to put in the home to really make it pop and bring in traffic into the home. For a buyer, uh, what I would recommend they do before they start shopping is get pre-approved. You know, get pre-approved for a loan. Be careful what you're spending. No trips in Italy or Greece. No expensive vehicles. You want to keep your debt to income ratios low. So you want to start being more financially conscious of like the purchases you're making. So yeah, I mean, I think for a buyer, it's way more simpler. You want to just be more financially aware and conscious of the purchases you're making. Speak to a lender like Malcolm, of course, to get pre-approved and pre-qualified, and then talk to a realtor to start searching.
Okay. Another question. How do you stay informed about the changes in the real estate industry?
That's a good question. So there's a lot of different internet papers and things like that. What I do in Brooklyn is pretty big. And the thing about New York is a networking city. So I go to a lot of networking events and we meet a lot of people. We meet lenders, we meet agents, we meet buyers, and a lot of information gets passed really from those type of informal settings. Sometimes we have meetings on Clubhouse with realtors who discuss what's going on in the market. There's different realtor networking events. So, we there's a whole bunch of different sources, that we stay abreast on the real estate market. The Real Deal. Um, there's different realtor focused newspapers that we get that keeps us abreast to the changes in New York City, and we're also plugged into what's happening in the city. The zoning changes and the different things that's happening.
Question: How does is it difficult to stay up to date in not only like states because you're in Connecticut, also in New York, and I know you're getting Jersey, so that's three different states. But then
Jersey.
also, huh?
Nah, not yet. Jersey. Thank you for shouting that out.
Yeah, I'm telling. I know you work hard, so I know you're always advancing. So I know it hasn't come yet, but I'm speaking to existence because I know we both know that you've been looking into it. So I'm pushing you for it. But also the towns like Brooklyn versus Stanford. Like, how is it being different, focusing on different states, but also being more specific and doing the actual towns like Brooklyn? Like, is it difficult? Because it's a lot of places in between. So how do you deal with it?
Hmm. So when we do a deal in these cities, like Brooklyn or Stanford, and you've been doing a lot of deals and you've been doing for a while, a lot of things come up, and you start seeing the same things over and over again. That's the benefit of dealing with someone who's been in the real estate business for a while. You when you're doing these deals, a lot of things pop up in the deal, and I'm glad you asked me that question about what sellers can do to prepare their house to be sold, because a lot of times we will come in and we'll list a property and there'll be like a lot of issues with the home. There'll be issues with violations. There'll be issues with permitting. There might be no C of O on the home. This is all things that are in New York City specifically. And those are some things also that a seller should look into before they list their home. They want to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the title and the deed and all these things. And by doing these deals, all these things come to light, and we have to work with the seller in order to solve them, in order for it to be sold. Same
And
thing.
you're right. That happens a lot more than people realize. Like, especially when it's an older home or it's been in generations or you bought it a while ago. Like, I had one when I was doing a refi and the client refied and the bank didn't actually submit all the paperwork to show that they covered the mortgage. And that's on title now because the title company was supposed to verify all that information. And it's like these things pop up and clients are like, wait, what? So when you're
Yeah,
selling your house, the bank or even refining, the bank is going to do its own research to make sure everything is clear and it's a clean slate before they guarantee the mortgage to someone else because the title insurance is backing it like, hey, this house it's clean, this person actually owns it, there's no other heirs to it, like this is the person who can sell it. So you're going to do this. So like Devon said, it's a good idea to just make sure you know what title company you have. Like if you're buying a house or you're selling a house, sorry, not if you're buying it. If you're refining or selling your house, it's good to get the paperwork when you bought it, just in case something pops up. You have the information for the seller's realtor because the buyer's realtor is going to reach out to the seller like, "Hey, can you get me this information?" Or reach out to their attorney. And if he has that information readily available, it just makes the process quicker and simpler for everyone.
exactly. And title report, you can get a lawyer to do it. You can call a title company, and all it does is looking at the chain of custody of that house, who owned it over the years, and if there's any liens, encumbrances, or any claims to that title. So definitely a must if you're selling a home. Definitely, if you feel like you need it, definitely get a title check.
What do you think clients can do to stay up to date with their market? If I'm in Florida right now and I know I want to move to New York or Connecticut, what can I do to stay stay updated with the market going on? Because sometimes
Okay.
going to Google and just Googling stuff, they get the wrong information or old articles pop up. Like, what do you do for your clients, or what do you suggest that they could do?
So I do a newsletter. So my newsletter goes out like once a month, sometimes. Uh, depends on how busy I am. But the best thing is to follow local realtors, follow local loan officers, and if they have a newsletter, jump on their newsletter, email them, DM them, say, hey, I want to be on your newsletter. I want to know, what's going on in the market. Do you do market updates? Find a local realtor, follow them, and they're your best connect to figure out what's going on in the market. Because when you go online and you get like that, housing market update, and they're talking about all of the United States, and they're telling you stuff like home prices are crashing, and you find out when you go looking for a home, you're one of 10 in your market, and it's the opposite. That's because you know the housing market is complex. No, there's no one market. There's thousands of sub markets. So you got to know what's going on in your specific market, and that's best done by following somebody who's in it.
100%. And it's glad that you said that because I've been working on starting I used to do something called the Marcelle Minute, and it was a weekly email that just went out and gave you real estate updates and stuff like that. But I was talking to someone who was big in the industry, and she was saying, Malcolm, like, you need to do market updates. Like, you should be informed on whether
Absolutely.
it's weekly or monthly, and put it on your YouTube, put it on your Instagram, and just say, this is what's going on with the market. This is how rates are looking this week. The only thing is, like, I hate actually giving specific rates because rates change daily. So depending on
Yeah.
when it finally gets uploaded and stuff, it could be like rates is way higher than that now. You know what I mean? Or it could be way lower. So that's the only
Yeah.
thing I hate about saying rates. But I might have to join your newsletter so I can get information on the market update too. So what's your Instagram or something? If I was a client, I already have it though, but I'm gonna be sliding them DMs and be like, yo, start sending me your market update because I be needing information too. But what's your Instagram if someone wants to follow you and to get that market update?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the Devon Group on IG. You could also email me at contact@devonbenedict.com, and I'll put you on my newsletter.
You want to spell it out?
Oh, it's contact CONTACT at my name Devon DEVON Benedict BENEDICT.com.
And spell your Instagram one more time.
So it's going to be the Devon Group, THEDEVON, uh, the Devon. Oh, GROUP. I forgot how to
You
spell it
forgot
on
your own
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, there's too many social media accounts, but if you look into the Instagram, there's like what is that link? It's like a link, and it links to all the other social media accounts. I forgot what they call it, link tree or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I have one of those. So
Okay, what are some of the most important qualities that you think a real estate agent should have?
oh, that's a good question. They should have genuine concern for their clients
Mm.
in their goals, in trying to reach their goals, and understanding their goals and how it's important. They should have a lot of patience and understanding because buying real estate and selling real estate is very emotional to people. And they should be have a high degree of perseverance because you need it in this market where real estate is still very much in high demand. Very much in high demand. Everybody's looking for the same thing, the beautifully renovated staged property. If you have one of those, or if you have a house, definitely work on getting it prepared. But I think those are the main things.
So, question to you. So, say I'm a new agent, or even I'm a new buyer. We'll do a buyer. I always tell my buyers like, hey, even if I refer you, because I do refer my clients to different agents. Even if I refer you to someone, I always suggest doing a like an intro talk, whether it's a Zoom or a phone call, so they can fill them out. Now, what do you do? Do you agree with that? Do you be like, hey, yeah, let me do an intro call with you so you can figure out what their needs are? Because, like you said, you have to pay attention to what the client needs. So, do you do something like that? And if you do, like, how does it go? Can you give us a little example?
Yeah, of course. So I always want to set some time aside and book some time with the buyer and really go through a whole bunch of questions that help me understand what they're trying to do, why it's important to them, their timeline that they needed to get accomplished by, any obstacles that they may that may come up that we can work on together to get around, and then I tell them about myself and I give them a realistic view of the market to put their expectations in line, and let them know that I'm there for them. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just getting the information from them and working with them and letting them know that it's going to be a journey, but they have somebody that's going to be with them throughout that whole journey.
Mhm.
They're not alone in finding something.
I like that. Okay. What or how do you tend to market if you get a listing? How do you tend to market it, or what do you think is the most effective way of marketing a property? Are you like super big on posting on social media? Do you do like do you send like postcards to people? Like, what do you suggest for newer agents like to market a listing that they just got?
Well, that's a good question. So it depends on your listing. It depends on the listing on how you're going to market it. You know, there's generally four types of marketing. There's online, offline, organic, and paid. So, also
Repeat that
depending
again.
on, there's online, offline, organic, and paid. And as Mr. Marcel hinted earlier, that your finances also intersect with those in your ability to do all four. So work on what you're able to do, but also understand who you're targeting when you're selling this property. Is it a multifamily, an investor? The market is going to be a little different. If it's a condo or a single family, going to be a primary, so your marketing is going to be a little different, you know. So it ultimately depends on the type of property that you're selling. I do all those types of marketing. I'll do mailers, I'll do internet ads. We call up the area, all those things that we do to get a property the maximum exposure it needs to get the highest amount of offers coming through.
All right, now I'm gonna get a little to the good stuff, right? The meat. I want you to be honest, and if you have a situation, even better. I think stories are like the cornerstone to getting into people's heart or telling the truth behind them. So, what do you do when you have like a disagreement with either the client or maybe the loan officer on the file? Maybe he's not working as hard, or maybe the client you feel like is giving you the runaround, or the client is just wasting your time. Like, what do you do if you have a disagreement, or you're sending them properties and they're like, "Hey, I want this," but every time you find the things that they want, they're switching, say, "No, I want a different area now." Like, what do you do when you feel like the relationship just isn't working out with either loan officer or client? So you give us a situation, a story, if you have one. Let me
Mhm.
know.
Well, first thing I do is I yell at them really, really loud. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Sometimes you
you
do.
know,
Ah!
if I have like a buyer who is, because I like last week I showed a buyer a property in Stamford, Connecticut, right? And after he sees the unit, and it's a beautiful condo called the Biltmore, right across from the mall, and the home is like renovated and it's like move-in ready. It was so nice, I wanted to buy it. And then after we go downstairs, he goes, "Hey, if I put in an offer and I change my mind, what's going to happen?" And I said, if you put in an offer and it's accepted and you go into contract, you really can't back out of it after your 10-day inspection period. So you have to be certain that you want it. You know what I'm saying? You can't have one foot in and one foot out, you know? And there's going to be properties that you see that, there's always going to be a better property, but if you're constantly looking for a better property, you're never going to find one. You're never going to actually close on one. Find something that works for you, and then put an offer on it and lock it down, especially in this market where there's not a lot of inventory, you know. So when I have a disagreement, I tend to like talk through things and try to understand the person a little bit more and understand what they're doing. You know, if I have somebody like a lender, this doesn't apply to Malcolm because he's always on top of his game. But if I have a lender who's like not responsive or isn't following up with a client, which can make us look bad because we referred them. I just like, hey, what's going on with the client? And try to understand if there was some sort of miscommunication, if they did reach out to them. If the client is not responsive, then I reach out to the client and I try to reinitiate things.
I like that. So you're willing to step in. You don't just jump to conclusions. You at least care what has to be said first, and then you're like, all right, maybe is this something I'm doing? Okay, let me see how I can help it. And if not, then you walk your separate ways. So that's very good. I do appreciate that. Okay, how do you handle issues with pricing? Say, for example, for you, you found something off market, it's in Connecticut, it's a multifamily. You have the buyer and the seller, and the seller's just reluctant to lower his prices just a little bit to get this deal done. And you know the buyer can't go higher. Like, what do you do on trying to bridge that gap? Do you say, all right, I tried it and I go? Or maybe even another situation, maybe you're a buyer is wants to buy a house and you can see that the seller has it overpriced and you know it's a good fit. Your buyer really wants it, but the seller's just it's not your seller doing this hand. I want to hear both concepts. Like, what would you do?
So if let's say I have a buyer who wants a home that's overpriced and the seller is not flexible in their pricing,
Hmm.
um, we always try to like in negotiations, since you're a loan officer and a police officer, you probably deal with a lot of negotiations. And it's always trying to find the middle ground between the two parties to make people feel like they've won something in the end. So it's not always about price. Sometimes we can offer terms that will help bridge that gap in lieu of price. It might be being able to close a little later, might be agreeing to do a lease back so the person stays in their home. You know, it might be doing not requesting any repairs. So there's incentives beyond pricing that might help close a deal, and it's all about making both parties feel like they've won something in the end.
Now, is it easier to do that when you're the seller and buyer agent, or is it which one do you prefer?
Well, I mean, you know, as a listing agent, I do get direct buyers, and it's always easier to negotiate because you have direct access to both parties, and you're able to bridge any gaps that might come up, you know, along with making sure you're looking out for the best interest of each party, and keeping their information confidential, but it's always easier to have a direct connection to the seller and the buyer.
Okay, gotcha. Um, what do you think is going to happen with the future of real estate, especially with this AI taking over? What do you think? Are you
Uh,
nervous? How do you feel?
no, not at all. I mean, a robot cannot take the job of a real estate agent. There's too many emotions involved in real estate. you know I think it's going to help people become more productive. If let's say you send me a buyer lead and it's 1 a.m. in the morning, not that you've done this, but let's say you did, and I have an AI bot that replies when that client replies to me and they're looking at Zillow 2 a.m. in the morning and they say, hey, I want this house, Devon, what do you think about it? And I have an AI bot that says, hey, that house looks great, why don't we set up an appointment to see it sometime this week? When are you available? So it makes my job easier because everything becomes more automated. We're able to give them better service and we're able to respond to them. And sometimes times that we may not be available to talk to them because, people are up at night looking at homes sometimes.
I like that. I like how you see it as a positive instead of seeing it as a negative because at the end of the day, our biggest thing should be how we can give our clients better service. And I'm very service oriented. I feel like the better service you give, the leads, the referrals, and the business will just keep coming and growing. So I
Mhm.
do respect that. What do you do to wow your clients?
Oh, to wow my clients, man, that's interesting. So I have a story for you, right? So I
Yes,
have
story time.
I have a mastermind group, and so it's got a whole bunch of agents from around the country, and
That
that's
touches
where
on what you said to make yourself better. Okay, I like it. I like it.
exactly accountability, hold each other accountable for doing what we need to do every single day.
Hmm.
And you learn things when you network from people all around the country. And, you know, I've seen agents do extreme things to win over clients. One of the things, and this was from a coaching group as well, is after the listing appointment, you would send them a pizza and a note. And it would be a little like pizza, breadsticks, and soda right after your listing appointment. Say, hey, thank you so much for allowing me to present to you and share information and be considered to helping you sell your home. Here's a free meal on me, a free dinner on me, and you deliver it to them, and you make the deliver person, give them the note, a card or whatever. That's one thing. Um, I've delivered, like, there's a company called brownies.com. When I've done a listing appointment, I've sent sellers a box of brownies. Um, I've heard of agents um, just doing a whole bunch of crazy things, to win clients over. And it's just to show gratitude and appreciation that somebody took the time out to consider you to selling the most important asset that they have, you know. So, those are a few things, sending some gifts, some presents, doing different things. What about, I'm curious, what have you done anything crazy, bought a
Um,
client a puppy or something as a closing gift?
no puppies, but I've bought clients everything. I bought TVs, I
Oh,
bought
wow.
blenders, I bought those those cleaning robots or whatever for closed clients. I've done it all. I'm very big on service and always figuring out how I can do better service. And
What's the
realistically,
largest TV?
I don't know. It was like it's actually for one of my first clients, Alvera. She got the TV, and that was my thing. I would buy clients TVs after closing, and then I was realizing like, hey, not everyone wants a TV, so I started doing other stuff. And now
That's
I
true.
still send stuff, but it's just random things now. So I don't like taking pictures of it because I want it to be a wow thing. So I don't tell people what I'm getting them.
I love
And
that.
now it just comes, and I'm not like most people do it just for after closing. I still send out cards on their birthdays.
Love
I
it.
was trying to do anniversaries, but see what happened is I started my CRM over, so I don't really have most of my
Ooh,
clients'
I love
anniversary
that.
anymore. But I wanted to send
Yeah.
out anniversary cards. I'm very big on showing that even though you closed, I still really appreciate you for trusting me. Even though I'm not making any money out
Yeah.
of this, but I'm not getting anything out of it realistically in the short term at least. But I just really want to thank people, and that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast and why we're doing all this because this is yeah, it's taking time on my day, but I just really want to give back and give information to people because I know it's going to help someone. And that's all we can really want. At the end of the day, we do this to help people. Well, most of us do it. Not everyone, but most of us do this to help people. So if I can help one person learn one thing on this, then it's made it a success for me, you know?
Yeah. I love
So
that.
last question before I let you go, because this was supposed to be a 30-minute podcast and it's like over an hour now. So I do apologize. What's one piece of advice you would like to give the younger Devon um, to make him more successful or just to make him happier in general? Like I think sometimes we measure success too much on money or business. So what's one piece of advice you would give the young Devon to make him happy?
That's good advice. And I want to, after I answer my question, I want to give you an answer. But my answer is to get a coach or a mentor before getting into real estate. And the reason is success leaves footprints. Success is not an accident. Somebody doing something specific in a specific way to achieve specific results. And when you have somebody like that who can mentor you, you shave a lot of time, you shave a lot of frustration, and you become more successful and you become more quicker, faster at being successful. So I would say definitely, if not a mentor, or if not coaching, find a group of people that you can align yourself with, who you can get like an accountability partner with, and they don't even have to be super successful. The main thing is that they're helping you become disciplined. They're holding you to your schedule and doing the things that make you successful, you know? So if I had to go back, if I can go back 10 years, I would probably go to the most successful agent in my city and ask them if they would mentor me or join a pay money for coaching. Of course, for an agent that's established and is successful, because regardless of what they're charging you, it doesn't compare to the amount of success and the knowledge that they're giving you.
That was really good. I like that. Ooh. Nah, that was a really good answer. I think my answer would have probably been similar. Definitely get a mentor. I'm big into reading, and one of the books I read, not last, but I think it was like my second or third book I just read recently. It was the Four Agreements, and in it was pretty much the first two agreements. Do not let people what people say or do take it personal. Like, you choose to let people get you upset. You choose to get people mad at people. You don't have to take on their energy. When someone says something negative, you don't have to take it on. You could just ignore it and keep going with your life. So we internalize other people's problems and other people's issues by allowing them that the words and stuff they say to affect us. So that's an agreement. You agree to let whatever they say bother you. And then two, remember that what you say has the same impact to other people. So watch what you say about people and watch what you say to people, because they might not be in that mindset that they're taking things on or not taking things on. But if you say something and they do take it on, now you're creating the same cycle that you want to stop. And
Hmm.
so
What
don't
was the
take
name of that book again?
the four agreements.
The Four Agreements. Man, that was a gem. Internalizing things, especially in real estate, where
Mhm.
people's emotions are high and there's a lot of back and forth and arguments. That's a gem right there.
Yeah, that was just the first two agreements. I'm not going to spoil the other two. But yeah, if we realize that life is short and things, COVID taught all of that. Life is short. Just be happy. And what I have to do, and what I'm still struggling, my wife is helping me do this. I'm very a long term player, so I look at the future and everything like that, and I forget. That's why I repeat it on the podcast constantly. Do not look at the end. Look at the in between. It's a book I'm reading now called I think it's Between the Gap. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. And in the book, the author says, I think his name is Dr. Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan, Dr. Sullivan. I think it's Sullivan. And he talks about it. The issue with most people is that we are caught in the gap. Instead of looking at what you want, you need to measure backwards and look where you are and where you came from. So if
Hmm.
you're like, I've been in real estate 5 years, think about when you were in year one and you had no clients. Now you might not be exactly where you want, but look at all the people that you helped in the past and then judge yourself on that. And you will realize, hey, I'm still here. I've helped numerous people. I am more successful than I thought I am. And it definitely plays a difference. Hold on, let me see if I could get the title of the book, because I don't want to butcher someone else's. Yeah, The Gap and the Gain.
The Gap in the Game. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I'm gonna pick up.
And yeah,
And the Four Agreements.
yep, Dan Sullivan and Dr.
Okay.
Benjamin Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
man. I love
um,
it. I love that.
I'm a big fan of reading. Like what you said, even if you can't afford a mentor, you can afford a book. And if not, DM me and I'll send you one of these books for free. This
Yeah.
is, we really, truly want to help people. And everything, all the answers, like Devon says, success leaves clues. So all the answers, all the problems that you're facing, it's in some book. You just haven't read the right book. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
constantly reading. The harder part is to actually implement what you read. That's harder
Yeah.
than actually getting the knowledge. You have to take the time and implement it and be consistent with it and laser focus on why you're being consistent. But
Or
that's
somebody
it.
to hold you accountable.
Yes. Boom. Full circle. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm gonna have to start my mastermind group again as soon as I get some time. I got to figure out how. but I
Send me the
definitely
invite.
my mastermind group back so we could talk books, chit chat, and just do monthly meetings.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, you definitely should. Definitely. Yeah, I'm down. You got one right here.
all right, so look at that, guys. See, real unscripted. The Marcelle Mastermind is coming back. Uh, maybe I'm thinking September. I'm really feeling like September would be a perfect month to start the group back, and I'm going to do it small, maybe 10 people, all different industries, and then we'll see how it grows from there.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. This is the Real Estate Unfiltered podcast. Devon, do not hang up. Do not press anything. I'm just ending it for the viewers. Still recording.
absolutely.
I had a guest who did it. I didn't tell that to, and I said over, out, bye, and he hung up, and the whole
Oh
podcast
my God.
episode got deleted. I was like, no,
Oh my
that's for
God.
the viewers. I'm letting them know they can go, not you. You stay online. So I
He's
appreciate
like,
you showing up for us. If you're listening, I appreciate you for listening to the end. Like I said, as a special promotion, DM me, DM Devon, let us know about the podcast episode. I'll send you a book. And Devon will definitely, if you're looking to buy a house in Brooklyn, New York, Connecticut, Devon is definitely readily available to talk to you. And he'll even give you a free consultation. So
yeah,
just DM
absolutely.
him, the Devon Group on Instagram, or message me and I'll send you his information. We appreciate you
Absolutely.
guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Devon, any last words?
No, man, this has been a pleasure, man. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast. You dropped a lot of gems at the end. I dropped some gems in between. I hope people have learned something from this. And like you mentioned, reach out to me if you have any questions about real estate. Would be happy to help you in any way I can.
That's it. Over and out.